From the moment trains and railways appeared, people dreamed of building tracks across the world, linking cities and countries so that travel would become easier, faster, and safer. If you've ever watched documentaries about the rise and fall of railway civilizations, you already know how this technology shaped early societies. Railways first emerged in England, later spread to the United States, and eventually reached nearly every corner of the globe. But this brings up an important question. How did the United States, once one of the pioneers and largest railway builders, fall so far behind? Today, the richest nation on Earth doesn't even have 100 kilometers of high-speed rail. Meanwhile, Europe has extensive high-speed networks. Japan created the first bullet trains, and China now operates over 48,000 kilometers of high-speed rail, a number that continues to grow rapidly. To understand why the US lags behind, we need to look back at the period after World War II. Dwight D. Eisenhower, who had seen Germany's railway system firsthand during the war, believed America needed a similarly advanced transportation network. But when he became president 8 years later, the focus didn't shift to trains, it shifted to roads. The American road-building industry exploded. Trillions of dollars were poured into highways, connecting the vast expanse of the United States with asphalt rather than rails. The US now has more road surface than the entirety of Europe. These highways directly benefited major car manufacturers of the time, Ford, GM, and Chrysler, whose vehicles rapidly filled the newly built roads. As cars became the dominant mode of travel, the idea of expanding railways began to feel outdated. Meanwhile, Europe and Japan faced a completely different situation. After the war, many cities were in ruins, populations were denser, and land was limited. Rebuilding gave them the opportunity to design compact cities connected efficiently by rail. Their major urban centers are close to each other, unlike in the US, where large cities are often hundreds of kilometers apart. The difference in city structure is also significant. European cities are older, filled with narrow streets never meant for heavy car use. America, being a relatively young country, developed during the automobile era. Its cities spread outward instead of upward, with large suburban areas surrounding smaller urban cores. For example, San Francisco only has about 800,000 residents, but millions more live scattered around the Bay Area. This low-density sprawl makes building high-speed rail extremely expensive and complicated. Another major obstacle is land ownership. In the US, more than 90% of land surrounding cities is privately owned, and buying it for rail construction requires enormous payouts. Because property near cities is extremely expensive, acquiring enough land for rail corridors often becomes financially unrealistic. All these factors, urban sprawl, car-centered planning, high land costs, and decades of investment in highways over railways, combine to explain why America, despite its wealth, has fallen behind in the development of high-speed rail. One major obstacle is land ownership, but another challenge is political. Take California as an example. The state government approved the idea of connecting San Francisco and Los Angeles with a high-speed rail line, and voters supported it as well. But the federal government refused to fully fund the project, arguing that national priorities required the budget elsewhere. China operates in a completely different political environment. If the central government announces that a railway must be built, it gets built, quickly and decisively. Of course, the jokes about executions are exaggerated, but the underlying point is that China enforces its policies with far more authority and far fewer bureaucratic delays. That is how they managed to build more than 48,000 kilometers of high-speed rail in under 2 decades. Back in the United States, some might wonder why new high-speed tracks aren't simply placed next to existing ones. The problem is that most American railway corridors were never publicly owned. From the beginning, these lines belonged to private companies that earned profit from them. So adding a new high-speed line requires negotiating with dozens of private landowners and corporations, each expecting compensation. There's little motivation for them to agree and no legal obligation to cooperate. Historically, figures like Cornelius Vanderbilt built enormous private rail empires, shaping America's transportation system long before public infrastructure planning existed. That legacy still affects rail development today. Then there's Congress. With 435 representatives and countless competing interests, policymaking often resembles a strategic game. Lobbyists, representing powerful industries, play a huge role in determining which projects move forward and which die on the floor. Lobbying is not illegal, and it exists in many countries, but in the US it has enormous influence. Three particular industries strongly oppose high-speed rail: oil and gas companies, which profit when people drive; automobile manufacturers, which benefit from car-dependent society; and airlines, which operate like intercity buses in America. A fast train from Los Angeles to Las Vegas would divert both drivers and short-haul airline passengers. A 2-hour train ride is obviously more convenient than a 5-hour drive or navigating busy airports. That threatens revenue for all three industries, and because their interests align, their lobbying power becomes extremely strong. Beyond politics, population distribution also creates difficulties. The United States has over 350 million people, but only about 10 cities with populations above 1 million. Most Americans live scattered across thousands of small and medium-sized towns. This low-density sprawl makes nationwide high-speed rail both technically complicated and financially unattractive. Construction costs add yet another layer. The US is one of the most expensive countries in the world to build infrastructure. Even small home renovations can cost tens of thousands of dollars due to regulations, labor expenses, and environmental review requirements. These rules exist for safety and environmental protection, but they also slow projects by years and require armies of lawyers. As a result, each mile of high-speed rail costs around $20 million in China, but can exceed $300 million in the United States. That means connecting San Francisco and Los Angeles, roughly 380 miles, could require more than $114 billion. But cost isn't the only barrier. The deeper issue is the massive economic ecosystem built around highways. Consider the millions of cars traveling daily. Each gallon of fuel costs over $5 in many states, and every gallon feeds revenue to oil companies, manufacturers, gas stations, and airlines that rely on car-centric infrastructure. This constant stream of money creates an economic waterfall that powerful industries do not want interrupted by an efficient, low-cost, high-speed rail system. And that is why, despite being one of the wealthiest nations on Earth, the United States still lacks a true high-speed rail network.